Hi, this is Alejandra. Thanks so much for coming to check out this video about spiritual envy. I actually wanted to call it spiritual comparison, but I don't know, I guess envy just felt a little more enticing, you know? And it looked better when it was written out. But it's essentially spiritual comparison. Yeah, and I guess there is a spectrum of, jealousy, envy that can take place. You'll notice I am inside for this video because it's getting cold, and I just can't do it, Captain. I just can't be outside. So I don't know. And then it's been raining a lot, so I don't know. I might start recording stuff inside now. But anyway, what did I want to share? So this topic actually came about when I was listening to it was I guess an article through the Wall Street Journal. I don't know, it had come up on my phone and I could test out listening to like a live recording of something or an interview, and I thought, oh, this is cool. And it was this investigation done by, I think it was two different reporters. It was a guy and a girl, and they were studying the effects of Instagram on teenage girls, specifically the harmful effects that they had about their image and their bodies after the looking at the Instagram app and following all of these body fitness influencers. So they wanted to do a deeper dive into it. And they were like, it's really affecting. It was 32% of young teenage girls. So essentially, like 1 in 3 girls felt bad about her body after, being on the Instagram app. And they wanted to study, like, what was it about Instagram? Across all kinds of social media platforms, it was Instagram that was the one that was the most harmful. And so they found, it's part of that like addiction of just the method of using the app. They found that girls were 3 to 4 hours a day, on scrolling and looking at different videos. One of the things that they also found was, the likes that they would get, that was sort of a detriment to how they felt about themselves. They would compare likes, and then they would also compare their friends' average post to their own post, and it just created this negative feedback loop where essentially they just start going down a rabbit hole. So that kind of inspired this whole thing. And this is sort of like, just to stay on the topic, not that if we're on the subject, I might as well also say what they found in their findings, because it was crazy. And Facebook should really, when I think about companies that are going to flourish in this time of, the new earth and this new awakening that's happening, I don't think they're doing a very good job. And this is why. Because not too long ago, there was a campaign that they rolled out. And I don't know if you guys remember it, but if you have Instagram, I don't know if they did it on Facebook, but definitely on Instagram. I remember getting a message that popped up when I opened the app, and it said, we're going to hide the number of likes on your post from your followers. So anyone who looks at your picture and likes it, it's just going to say, so-and-so liked it and others. And they're going to take off the numeric count. And I remember at the time, I was like, oh, what are they doing? That feels good. Maybe it's trying to like support, people not, feeling bad that they only had 2 likes versus, their friend who was getting 42 likes or hundreds of likes or whatever. Well, it turns out that in this investigation, they pulled files from internal files within Facebook, and that they had already done studies that hiding the number of likes from viewers wasn't going to move the needle at all for these teenage girls. That even if people couldn't see how many likes they had, they were still going to feel bad. However, they decided to roll it out because they thought public opinion would favor this sort of move, thinking that Facebook cared about mental health. And so for optics, it was pure optics. And I was like, oh my God, I was duped. I was one of those people. So anyway, that that is a whole other subject that, I would like to kind of bring this message out into the world, because shame on you, shame on a company that does that. That just, it's highly manipulative. And Lord knows I don't want manipulative people in my life. I feel like my circle has gotten a lot smaller because of it. And I just want people that think, with integrity and come from their heart. So anyway, that's my whole rant on that thing. But okay, so here's where it ties in with what I wanted to talk about. So as I was thinking about these girls, and they're comparing themselves to, like, six-pack abs and Lord knows what else. And I thought, wow, where does this sort of touch me in my spiritual journey and on my path when it comes to meeting other people that have these amazing gifts? And I was like, oh, yeah, I do that to myself. I totally compare. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this in one of my videos before. If I have, forgive me. But, when I first started on this whole spiritual quest, and I was in this small town in Brazil, but there were like the most amazing light workers I have ever met. Okay. Like, I'm still telling like stories of like things that happened, and people with all these amazing gifts. And it felt like, I remember telling my friends, like, I feel like I'm at Hogwarts. Like, somehow I am attending school at Hogwarts, but I feel like a total muggle. And I'm like, I don't know what my class is. Like, I have no idea what class to take. I shouldn't be here. This is like imposter syndrome. And because there are people with such cool gifts. And I don't know, like it just sparks something inside of me where it's like, oh, that would be so cool, And then I was reading this. It's interesting. I'm in a Ram Dass phase right now. Like Ram Dass, he's already passed. If you haven't heard any of his lectures or read any of his books, he's an incredible soul with a beautiful story and journey. And I recently finished his memoir. It's called Being Ram Dass. And so, he grew up, I'll give his like bio in a nutshell, grew up to a wealthy Jewish family, East Coast, Boston, craved being loved and approved, and highly intelligent, ended up becoming a professor at Harvard, and then had a big spiritual awakening when he did psilocybin mushrooms with his friend Timothy Leary. And then at Harvard, they started the psilocybin project, eventually got into LSD, and were trying to find ways to awaken this consciousness and a deeper healing with entheogens. I think that's how you pronounce it, entheogens. And then eventually reached a certain limit with those types of, I'll call them medicines, or you can call them drugs, whatever, psychedelics, reached a limit with those type of psychedelics, and was still craving something deeper. And eventually made a whole pilgrimage to India, found his guru, and then it's just the love of his guru and the lessons of his guru, and and how he was in service to humanity after that moment. And so one of the cool things is like he talks about these gurus that have the most amazing powers. So I'll share with you like one story. There was this guru, and he would hire people from the village, so somewhere in a remote area in India. He would hire people. This wasn't Ram Dass's guru, this was another guru. He would hire people to do work, and then he would tell them, on your way home, all you have to do is pick up a rock. It can be any rock, and you'll find your payment there. Like, seriously? These are the type of people that exist in India and probably other places. So the people would go, and sure enough, they'd pick up any rock, and there would be, their rupee notes. And it got to a point where the police sort of started to get involved, because they were putting these brand new rupee notes into circulation. And so the police went to go and talk to the guru, and they were like, hey, how are you paying these people? Where do you get your money from? And so the guru was like, oh, come here, let me show you. And so he takes these police down, through the forest or the jungle, wherever it was. And they got to this point where it was a river or a lake, and there were crocodiles inside. And that he called one of the crocodiles forward and told him to open his mouth, and the guru reaches in and pulls out wads of rupee notes. And he's like, this is where I get my money. And then the police were like, ah! And then they just fled, and they were all scared, and no one touched him again. So, there are people who exist on this planet with extraordinary talents. And I cannot help but want and desire that something cool like that could happen to me. Like, what the heck is my gift? And I don't know, I guess if I think of that article and I think of these girls comparing themselves, I don't think there's, I don't know, if there's a space of envy inside of me, it's more like, it's not necessarily the envy that I have, because I'm sure it exists on some very, some space inside of me, because it's so cool, right? Wouldn't that be so cool to just have all these manifestation of miracles? I mean, it's like, it would be so cool. But I think at the end of the day, what my real wound is that I'm just trying to heal is I want to be liked, and I want to feel special. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I want to be liked, and I want to feel special. And I guess there's this romanticism, or maybe it's just ego-based, that if I have this supernatural spiritual gift, maybe others will like me more, and maybe I'll like myself more, or I'll feel more special. And I'm sitting with that. Right now. It's interesting. Ram Dass talks about his own desires for power. So his is more, he would like that because he has, he wants that power. It's power driven. I don't necessarily feel that with me. Mine's like, can you just think I'm special and like me? It's not to be powerful. I don't have that. But maybe some of you do, which is cool. Like, or maybe some people have like my stuff, my wound. But it's interesting because Ram Dass also says that that when people have spiritual gifts, they might be creating more karma. And then I thought, oh shit, like I don't want to do that. And I have certainly come across people with who have abused their spiritual powers. I have seen it happen to others, and I have firsthand experienced it. And it is not cool. It is not cool. It was one of those things where it took me out of my those rose-colored glasses I put on, that like anyone following this particular faith, or who believed in this doctrine, or drank this plant medicine or whatever, that they were going to be in alignment and in integrity with the powers that they had. And when it was harmful to me, and when something happened that was like, dude, that is so messed up on so many levels. It happened in a spiritual work, and a guy invaded my energetic space, and it was not okay. And his message was just gross. He wanted to hook up with me, and it was like, why is this even happening right now? And it wasn't the first time he had done it. Clearly, right? He just, a lot of other women that I found out later. And so, spiritual powers aren't necessarily all they're cracked up to be. And just because people have them doesn't mean they will use them properly. So it's just something that I wanted to share about, maybe even as a precaution for those who have spiritual powers. Like, please, please, I beg of you to use them with integrity, because they could do so much good, right? And others who are kind of like me, raising their hand like, where's my superpower? Just be a little more kind to ourselves, just a little more kind, because our journey will be perfect, is perfect. And in this life, for whatever reason, we're calling in certain things, and maybe they involve spiritual powers, maybe they don't. But either way, I'm like telling myself, you're still special, Alejandra. You're still special. And I guess I just wanted you to know that you're special too, with a superpower or without a superpower. You're brave. You came down to be human, and that in and of itself is pretty incredible. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it resonated. And stay tuned for more. Okay? I send you lots of love and blessings to everyone. Take care. Ciao.